Layering's a propagation technique that you can use on a more established tree, and is particularly useful if there's a particular type of tree that's hard to propagate. So if you take stem cuttings or if you graft it, it's quite tricky to propagate. And the advantage of layering is that you're taking advantage of the full productivity of the tree. So it's big root system, it's big branch system, and all the foliage that's busy photosynthesizing, and you're using all that distribution of nutrients and water that's going through the whole plant to support the growth of roots and the cutting that you establish, or the growth of the new cutting that you're going to establish. So there's two techniques. One's air layering and one's ground layering. With air layering, what you're doing is taking one of the side branches and wrapping it up, wrapping it with moss first, so a damp sphagnum type moss is the best for that, and then wrapping it in a bag, or sealing it in a plastic container or something that's going to maintain the humidity and the air tightness in that particular area. And what that will do is that it will encourage, through shading and through the moisture of that area, it will encourage the tree to start growing roots within that. And it's a technique best applied early in spring when the movement of sap is being established in the tree, and it's moving into its more vigorous growth. And by the end of summer, there should be quite a good root ball system that's developed within that, and you can remove that limb or that branch or whatever it was and transplant that, and it will normally grow quite effectively because it's been supported in the growth of roots by the rest of the tree and the flow of nutrients that are established in that. So it can be used to establish quite a large cutting and to support the growth of that cutting in a tree that would otherwise be quite hard to propagate. The other one is ground layering, where if you've got low-lying branches in particular, or maybe a shrub or a bush that's got a lot of low-lying branches, that is again quite generally tricky to propagate, particularly good for things like Chilean guavas and blueberries and things like that. You can take a low-lying branch and pin it down, assuming it's flexible enough to do so. And cover that low-lying branch with soil, so you can pin it down and then mound the soil up around it. And again, the dark and the moisture within that mound of soil will encourage the tree to start developing roots within there. And again, you can cut that off at the end of summer and transplant that, and it will be hopefully a healthy, thriving little seedling. So it's quite an effective technique for those more tricky trees. It works particularly good for any fast-growing trees, also grapes or figs or prunes or anything like that. It's also quite an effective way to propagate them.